but his son was playing Little League, but he couldn't coach his son's team. So he had to coach another team. That's the rules that they had. So he asked me to help because they weren't doing very well. And we ended up playing for the championship, and we had a really good season and a bunch of good kids and wonderful parents. Um, then I moved to Florida. That was out in California. And I started working for a local high school, and that was fun as an assistant coach. And but before that, I went to work coaching Special Olympics. They had a ad in the paper that they needed some help with their teams, and I wasn't coaching anybody at the time. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me, and some of the most fun basketball that I've ever had an opportunity to be involved with. Um, the 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 high functioning Special Olympians are true athletes. Um, we had a championship game for the state of Florida. The final score was 123 to 118, and probably 60 dunks in the game, and most of them two hands behind the head. I mean, these guys see the NBA guys doing it, and so they got to do it. Um, we couldn't run a pick and roll. We had a really hard time running a give and go because it was almost too much for them to fathom. But they could sure do one-on-one and dunk and drive and take shots from all over the court. They had a great time playing. But this is Special Olympics is how I started my system, was coaching these guys. Um, 2 years after I was talking about this championship game, I had another team I was working with, and they were the second level down. And the reason they were was because the guys who were the best players that took them to the top level were all in jail, and which is something that happens to those players sometimes, or those people trying to fit in with everybody in their neighborhoods, and they get involved with the wrong people for the wrong reasons. But anyway, we had 5 players, and one was a mother with 2 daughters, but she could shoot really, really well. But we had the 5 players. We were at practice one day, and we were shooting free throws, and they were, to watch them shoot, you would have thought they were shooting 99% because their shots were so beautiful, and they had the perfect follow through, and everything was beautiful, and they were throwing up brick after brick after brick after brick. And what are you guys doing? I finally had enough, this one day. What are you looking at? Duh, coach, we're looking at the rim. Well, what part of the rim? Duh, coach, the rim. So I went and grabbed a broom or a mop that was sitting off to the side, and I got underneath the basket, and I put the mop handle up underneath the rim, and here's the front of the rim, and on the backboard to the hook that was right here. And I poked at that hook and held the stick up there and said, can you guys see that hook? And they all, yeah. Hit the hook with the ball. Just hit the hook with the ball. They shot 5 out of 5, 4 out of 5, and 3 out of 5 from the free throw line. And all they had to do was have a target, and they needed a small target. A rim is too big. A hook is even too big, but that's all we had at the time. And so that team, we scored 60% from the field for the rest of the season and won the championship, and they shot 90% from the line. And these are Special Olympians, man, that shocked me. I'm sitting here with chills right now, remembering how the whole thing went down. So I've refined the system since then, because I came to realize that the NBA and the pros and the college guys, they don't have hooks on the rim because they were ripping their fingers on the hooks on their dunks. So they remanufactured the rims and put holes in them, and they thread the net through the rim. So I couldn't use the hook with the advanced players. So I needed to devise something, and I may run off and get my laser pointer. It's not here. This is stupid. Give me 2 seconds or 10 seconds. I'll be right back.
Coach, nakamute ka, Coach Melky.
Yeah, sorry. That's why we are always asking their story, so we will know how do they develop in the story. We will know how do they develop their coaching, how do they start, how do they put it into practice, realize it. Now, he's Dave, Coach Dave Jones.
Am I doing the right thing?
Yes,
Yes,
Coach.
Okay.
yes, Coach.
So what I did was I had to devise something that wasn't the hook. So I came up with this laser pointer. And you can buy them for $1 at the dollar store or, you know, someplace. It's just this cheap little thing. And I aim it at the rim, and I aim it at the far side of the rim next to the backboard. And the rim in the back is thick. The rim up in front is just finger thick, but the rim in the back, for the back 180 degrees, is very thick. So I put the laser pointer to the bottom part of the rim, not the top part, but to the bottom part of the rim on the far side. So everywhere they are on the court, they're always looking at a thick side of a thick part of the rim on the far side. Well, this is inside the rim. So it's inside the basket. So their target is inside the basket. So then I ask the players, can you see the laser pointer? They can all see it. I take it away. Can you see? I take it away. Can you see where it was? Well, you could all imagine there's still a red pointer on my forehead. I'm certain. Am I correct? So then I ask everybody, what's your favorite color? And most of the guys say red or blue. So we'll just go with that. Let's say blue, so it's different. And I say, all right, now can you imagine that where this red is now blue? And I'm going to ask you guys, can you imagine that there's a spot on my forehead that's your favorite color? Can you? So this isn't crazy. This is not insanity. This works. So now what we have done is we've engaged the imagination. And the imagination is the conductor of the orchestra that is you. And your whole body is an orchestra. Now, we've got 3 minds, basically, the reptilian mind in the left and the right hemisphere. And we have connections mostly between the left and the right hemisphere. And the left hemisphere is the logic hemisphere, and the right hemisphere, on most people, and the right hemisphere is the creative side. Well, the imagination lives in the right side. So the conductor for the orchestra that's you is in the creative side of your brain. And it likes to work in multiple scenarios simultaneously. For example, it keeps your heart beating, keeps your hair growing, keeps your fingernails growing, makes you blink, lets you sleep. All these things are happening, but we're not aware of them happening, yet they are. So we're unconscious of these things working. If I get to talking too fast, tell me to slow down. I get excited and I'm having fun. So that I call it the unconscious instead of the subconscious, because the subconscious brings in all kinds of stuff from psychiatrists and psychologists, and I don't want that getting involved. So we call it the unconscious because we're unconscious of these things happening. Well, your conscious mind isn't as smart or as fast as your unconscious mind. Your conscious mind is linear. It works on a line, and it goes one thought, then another thought, and another thought, and it finishes it before it goes on to the next. Happens at the speed of light. So it doesn't seem like it's one thought at a time, but it can only do one thing at a time. So what we do is we give it a job so that the distractions in a game, most of which are self-talk, I can't do this, the score is tied, I'm scared to death to take this shot, my girlfriend's in the audience, my ankle hurts, I'm out of breath. All these are distracting shots that are thoughts that happen to us while we're in the game. And those are not wanted. They're totally in the way. So since the conscious mind can only do one thing at a time, we give it a job. And all those things are blocked out. They're not part of the game anymore, as long as you're using the one conscious thought. So in shooting, we use our imagination to put an imaginary target up on the backboard or on the rim that we're going to shoot at. And then we put our eyes on that target. So the conscious thought is, am I looking at my target? Well, if I'm thinking, am I looking at my target? I can't be bothered by all the distractions that are happening in the game, by being tired, by nothing. Everything goes away. So now I'm not distracted. I'm not thinking about where my elbow is, where my knee is my nose pointed to the basket. None of that stuff means anything anymore. And my unconscious is shooting. Now, when we're doing a shot, we're incorporating everything from the top of our head to the tips of our toes in that shot. So if we try to consciously control what's going on in the shot, we get in the way of the unconscious taking the shot, because the unconscious is the smart one and it knows how to shoot if we get out of our own way and allow it to happen. But we start thinking and we're thinking and we got these conscious thoughts and they interrupt the flow, which is why they call the zone the flow. They interrupt the flow of our shot and the flow of our mindset. So if we have our unconscious creating a target and our conscious looking at that target, we've now incorporated the two on the same outcome, and that's called a state of genius. It's called the zone. It's called the place that people go for meditation. It's called for hypnosis, the trance-like state. It's the place everybody wants to get, but you can't sit out on the court and go, you just can't pull that off. There's too much stuff going on. So this is a way to get there now, but it's only for the shot right now. We've got another thing that works for not the shot, but right now we're talking about shooting. So we've got a target and we've got a target to look at. Now, I'm going to stop right here and say, now what? What do you want to say to me? Anything? Should I keep going?
Go ahead, Mel.
Yes, coach.
Okay, I'm going to keep going. Now,
Yes, coach.
what I like to do is I'd rather have, back up a second. You guys have heard other shooting coaches or read about other shooting coaches saying that you got to have a nice high arc because when the ball comes down, there's more basket for it to go into instead of a line drive, which has to be more accurate all the time for it to go into the basket. Am I telling you something you haven't heard before? This is all new. This is not new to you to hear that?
No, yeah.
Okay.
Tell
So
Coach.
what I like to do is instead of trying to get somebody to think, because I don't want them thinking when they're shooting. That's the last thing we want is thinking. We want it to be a natural process, like walking. You don't think when you're walking, and if you don't think when you're driving. Look at all the stuff that's going on when you're driving a car. And when you first learned how to drive, you were scared to death and you were all over the place. And it was awful. But now you drive down the street and you're talking to somebody and you're looking around, you're listening to the radio, you're scratching and doing all kinds of stuff because it's all through your peripheral vision and it's all natural now. You're not thinking about it. It's unconscious. If you start thinking about it, things get weird. So let me get back to where I was. So instead of telling players to have a nice high arch on their shot, I have them bank it in. Because in order to hit the backboard, you got to throw an arch on the ball. So I give them a target on the backboard to use. And unless they're shooting side shots, I just as soon have everything go off the glass. If everything's going off the glass, then that means as it comes down on the glass, as it comes down, and hits the glass, it's that low that trajectory that you want from a high arch to drop it in the basket. So you can be less accurate coming off the backboard than you have to be not using the glass. When you shoot a layup, you can hit the backboard all over the place and it's still going in. Well, it's the same thing for a regular shot. You could hit all over the backboard and it's still going in. I give specific targets and tell them where to put their target, and it makes it easier because there's only 3. And all of a sudden, everybody's scoring at a really high rate, even on floaters. For example, on a floater or a runner, you're moving towards the basket. Nobody's standing still shooting a floater because that's called a set shot. And so it's not a floater anymore. So you have momentum. Well, since you have this momentum, if you try to hold up and drop the ball over the rim, you're going against that natural momentum. If you bang it off the glass and let it bank in off the glass, that's all natural things that are happening to your body. So you're just going with the flow. And if you know where to put your target on the glass, then you just look at the target and let it fly. And the ball goes to the target. And that's what happens because the unconscious is shooting. And it's a lot more accurate than the conscious mind is. I've got some notes. I want to make sure I've hit them.
Coach, I
Go.
have some
Coach.
question.
Coach, go question, Rico.
Because I remember one time Michael Jordan was on a free throw. He was saying that I can't even shoot when my eyes are closed.
With his eyes closed.
Yeah, because he
Yeah.
said that like, well, the way he said that is like you said, when you're driving, it is normal. You become like part of you, part of your
Sure.
body, part of the way how you move. So one time I guess he tried to shoot in a free throw in the actual game, and he closed
He
his
did.
eyes because
I
the
watched
shot.
it.
Yeah. So is that the same as like you're kind or but it's a different.
Completely opposite. Completely opposite. His shot went in at that time because of mechanics, because he's taken over 1 million shots, well over 1 million shots. His mechanics are down. So as long as he isn't overexcited and disturbed by things on the outside, he's taken so many shots that he can do that. And he's practiced that, and he's done it on purpose. So he can make guys mad in a game by closing his eyes and shooting. Now, if you're on the other team and he does that to you, you're mad. And you play mad. When you play mad, you're not playing smart. So he just makes the other team play bad by doing something like that. And if they've been fouling him and hurting him, he's saying, look, here's what's going to happen to you. So he's making a statement. There are a few players that can do that. And there are coaches that take their players and teach them how to do that in shooting camps. But go ahead. Keep going.
Go
But
ahead, Coach.
the problem is the players who can do that, and Michael Jordan's one of them. Mike didn't shoot 90% from the line. Mike was around 80, 81, 82%. Good free throw shooting. But to me, if you're not shooting 90%, you're not a great free throw shooter. You're not a good free throw shooter. That's my opinion. I think everybody ought to be 90% from the line. It's the only time in a basketball game you can take the perfect form and the perfect shot with no distractions, as long as you've got an imaginary target and a target to look at. There's no distractions because the score is not a distraction. You're being tired is not a distraction. None of that is a distraction anymore because the unconscious is taking care of it. Your unconscious knows how tired you are. Your unconscious knows all of these things about your body because it regulates your body. So since that's happening, it compensates. So if I teach somebody how to shoot mechanics only, when they get tired, their mechanics change. So if they try to keep doing those same mechanics and they're tired, their legs are not pushing as hard, their release is either overcompensated for or undercompensated for. Everything is different. Or they're breathing heavy and they release just a little bit off from where they normally do. So that's all a mechanic shooter can do, is follow with the mechanics. So what I teach eliminates the mechanics. It just eliminates. If someone's new and they need mechanic training, it's easy to teach them the simple mechanics that follow through. If they're an experienced player like Michael Jordan, then what I've got to teach Mike is how to imagine the target. If he and Kobe had been able to imagine their targets, what they would have done on the basketball court was scary. I mean, scary. But they didn't have that. Now, Kobe talked about, I look at my target. So Kobe had a target. He didn't follow the ball once he shot it. He kept his eye on the target. And that's halfway to where I get shooters to. The difference is I want them to imagine a target that's not there and then put their eyes on that and incorporate both sides of their brain. You can look like you're getting ready to ask me a question, so I'll shut up.
Yes, Coach.
Eric,
Coach David.
okay. Go ahead.
Coach David, for sure, I have a question for you, Coach.
Well, first of all, Coach, it's great that you're here today. You said that you were in the Army. When did you get out? What was your?
I'm an old guy. I got out in '69.
69. Okay,
Yeah.
I got out in 1998. My last duty
Okay.
assignment was Fort Bragg, so I was actually in the Air Force, but supported you guys. So that's great.
Cool.
You know, Coach, one of the things you're doing is, you know, in the military, this is what you're talking about is essential, whether you're shooting a weapon and whatever you're doing to overcome some of the austere conditions that we lived in, you had to use what you're talking. Of course, in combat survival school, CIRI for the Army, these are kind of techniques that they taught us. So it's really great what you're sharing. Can you get real specific on this as far as how that applies, say, for somebody who maybe has a confidence problem? Because I can tell you that a lot of times on the court, you have kids that just are shell shocked. You know, they're scared to pull the trigger, if you will. So how can how do you deal with that when you're talking about the brain and you're talking about their confidence level?
Okay. The first thing you got to do is teach them to imagine the target. Once they can imagine the target, everything else changes. Everything else changes. And you're dealing with a different player. So some of your players, when you're first teaching them, will lie to you. And they'll tell you, yeah, I imagine I could see that. Well, they can't, you know, and you can tell because they're not scoring. They're missing. They still keep missing. Nothing's changed. So what I tell them, I say, can you really, Coach, if they finally tell the truth, I can't see the target, man. I know, I hear you, but I can't see it. So you go through this drill with them, this mental drill with them. Have them give you directions to some place they know. So even if they don't drive, they've been in a car or they've been walking and they can give you directions. And you ask for landmarks. Don't tell me the name of the street. Tell me landmarks. So they say, okay, I walk down to the end of the fence. What color is the fence? Well, the fence is white. And is it metal? Well, yeah, it's metal. What do you do when you get to the end of the fence? Well, I turn right. Well, when you turn right, what do you see? Well, there's this big building. And what's it made out of? Well, it's bricks. What color are the bricks, white or red? Well, they're red. All right, now you've told me all this stuff. You're standing here in front of me. You are not in that place that you're describing. Is that correct? They say, yeah. Well, you're seeing all of that in your imagination. That's how you see the target, the exact same way that you're giving these directions to me. You are imagining those directions. You imagine the target exactly the same way. Oh, you get this, aha, I get it. And now when they get the target, just do layups with them. Don't let them do anything but layups, because what we want to do now is build the habit of seeing the target every time they shoot. So you want them to shoot layups, and you want them to make layups, and you want them to make hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of layups before they move away from the basket and change anything. Now, in reality, when you shoot a layup, it's, if you're strong enough, it's the same form that you use to shoot a three. It's exactly the same. It's just further away. So everything's a layup. Some are just longer than others. That's all there is to it. So if you keep them around the basket and you have them imagining their target and just make them stay close. Now they're making 50 layups in a row, and they take a step, half step back, and they're making another. Well, now they're making 35 or 45 out of 50. Well, they hadn't done that before, and they're backing off. Now they're shooting 70%, so you take another step back. Have them go around the basket. So if I'm the basket, they shoot out here, they shoot here, they shoot here, but they're never more than 3 or 4 feet out for a long time, till every time they look up at the basket, they see their target. That's the habit we have to create. Once that habit's there, they're a good shooter. You can't stop them from shooting, and being scared goes away. And we as coaches teach your first option is shooting. That's your first option when you get the ball in your hands. Well, when they got a target, you can bet you're going to have to start yelling at them to quit shooting and pass the ball. And it's amazing what happens, Coach David. It's amazing. Now, I know
That's
you're
good.
saying, well, that'd be great if it works. I can guarantee it works.
Well, it's something we're going to have to try, because it's not just 1 or 2 players. Sometimes it may be 3/4 of the team goes out there. You have that one iso ball guy that just loves to do 2 crossovers and always drive, and the other players are standing around. And the more they do that, the less confidence they get. And so,
Yes.
yeah, this is, if they can train this, I can see how now the brain is thinking about something else rather than what mom and dad are going to think, or what the coach is going to think, or all the other self-talk issues that we have, that we lie to ourselves about. I want to develop a t-shirt for my son. Just shoot it.
Just shoot it. and
There is
don't
a
think
lie.
about it.
All right,
The
Coach.
biggest thing I got to tell them, I'm sorry,
Okay.
I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say, go ahead.
The biggest thing I'm always saying is quit thinking. Stop thinking. Stop thinking. And don't aim. Don't even aim. Just look at it. Just look at your target. Your body will flow. And that's what happens. They don't
That's
believe
awesome.
it. They don't believe it. And look, it's like cheating. It really is like cheating. So
Do you
learn
see
how
a
to
difference
cheat.
between practice and the game, for example? Because, in a game, it's much different as far as the pressure of, the crowds and the. So
Well, now,
how do you
in
deal
a
with that
game-
if you're there at the game? And
Well, in a game, let's go to practice first. Good shooters, really good shooters, will shoot 70% in practice from all over the court. They'll shoot 70%. They get in the game and they're 30, 35, 40%. Well, that's distractions. That's what causes that, is distractions created by the game. I don't know which distraction at which moment, but there's always some distraction going on. If they have the target, the distractions disappear. So it's exactly the same as practice. And I don't know if you guys do this or not, if I'm practicing with a team, I always make the practice more difficult than the game. So games are fun and practices are work. So as long as we look at it that way, then there's no pressure on them to play hard, because they're play harder in practice. And the only pressure will come from without, but we're eliminating that by having the target. And it
Awesome,
works,
Coach.
but it
Yeah,
won't work until till you get them thousands of shots of made a habit is created by successful repetition. You can't shoot 1,000 threes and be as successful as you can on 1,000 layups, or 1,000 3-foot shots, or 4-foot shots. So I keep them at 3 to 4 feet for a long time. And
Yeah.
then I tell them, okay, now you shoot 70%, you can take a step back and you can shoot all the way around, anywhere. If you can't shoot 70%, take 2 steps up till you're shooting 80%. Then take a step back till you're shooting 70. Then if you can't, and that keeps them up and makes them look at the target. Now, if they miss while they're shooting this, here's the correction. Other basketball coaches will tell you, well, if you miss, you got to think, how did I miss? Was I long? Was I short? And when you go back up to shoot the next basket, you compensate. Well, if you do that, you're thinking. If you're thinking, you're going to miss. You can't think and shoot. It's wrong. So what you do is you make your target brighter. So if you miss the next shot, you have a brighter target. And the kids get a kick out of, and everybody's a kid to me now, but everybody gets a kick out of making the target brighter. Oh, I can make it brighter? A one-man's, a college kid I was working with says, I don't know how to make it brighter. All right, then let's imagine that you're driving a car and you're going down the street and it's foggy and there's a light up ahead, a stop and go light. And right now it's red. So you're driving down the street and you can see a really dim red light because it's foggy. Yeah, okay. All right, now as you get closer, that light gets brighter and brighter because the fog is affecting it less and less. And he's imagining this and he says, yeah. So you just imagined your target brighter. Oh, I get it. So right away, now they got it because it's the imagination and it works. Now, the other thing is when they hit, if they make the target's on the back of the rim, it's on the rim. If they hit that target, if you do something right, you like atta boy, good job. Everybody likes that. Atta girl, good job. Everybody likes that. Well, you can't do that to yourself on the basket. You can't make a shot and go, yeah, good job. You can't do that. But your conscious and your unconscious still need to communicate. So if you hit the target on the back of the rim, then you smile to yourself, just a smile. And that's the communication from conscious to unconscious, good job. And the unconscious says, yeah, because the unconscious, they call it the inner child. Everybody has it. That's the conductor. That's the conductor of the orchestra. It doesn't know how to lie, cheat, steal, or do anything wrong. It doesn't understand all of that stuff. It's like the good angel on the shoulder, and the conscious mind is that bad angel on the shoulder. And so you want the good angel running everything. So you tell the good angel, good job. And the good angel says, yeah. And the next time, your shot's more accurate. So I tell these players, if it's a swish, we don't smile because you didn't hit the target. Yeah, you scored 2 points, but you missed the target. Next time down, they come down, they hit the target, they smile. 3 or 4 times in a row, they'll come down and hit the target. It's amazing how well this works, but not unless they get enough repetitions up from 2 to 4 or 5 feet. That's the key, guys. That's the key. Short, lots of repetitions. And the kids don't want to do that. They want to come up and jack up a 3. That's the first thing they want to do. If they're not strong enough to shoot 3s, they can't. Just tell them that. You can't. You're not strong enough yet. You want to shoot 3s? Hit the weight room. Get stronger. Now, I'm going off in tangents.
Hey, it's okay, Coach. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm enjoying this. I know we all are.
Juggling.
We have a lot of learning now.
Juggling
Thank
is
you.
something that I love for players to do, especially when they're learning the system, because we're making new connections in our brain because we're learning new ways to play basketball. So when the science has proven, even people my age, when they start juggling, they create new connections between the left and the right hemisphere. So those connections then connect with all the other connections that are in there, but they're new. So now if we've got a new pathway up there that we've developed from juggling, then everything that we're learning new about shooting with the brain, that's the key to get into the rest of the brain. This new connection that we've made that's all part of this shooting system. So it works extremely well, and it gives them eye-hand coordination. It's scary. and it helps them to be better at stealing the ball, helps them better dribblers, helps them to be better at everything, because eye-hand coordination is everything in basketball. And especially if we're shooting them to teaching them to shoot with either hand off either foot anywhere in the paint. Now we're really tapping into this, because that's juggling for the feet. so we're incorporating everything. And then as I'm teaching them all of this, I teach them the quick release. Now, Steph Curry talks about he shoots so fast in practice that in the game it slows down for him because he's not shooting so fast. I don't like that kind of quick release. That's scary, quick release. The normal, regular, natural quick release, the thing that we all teach our players is called the triple threat position, where you squat down, and if you don't have the ball, you got your hands out in front of you and you're squatted down like you're going to do a squat with weights. And that's the triple threat position. Well, if you catch the ball that far down, when the ball comes to you on a pass, if you're there, all you need do is go up to shoot. You don't have to drop back down. So if I'm standing up and I get a pass, first thing I got to do is go down to shoot, because I got to put my legs into the shot. So if my legs are already bent and they're already cocked, then when the ball hits my hands, all I got to do is go up. There's no dropping the ball and going up. There's none of that stuff. If I catch it here, I go up. If I catch it here, I go up. If I catch it here, I go up, because my legs are the thing giving me the power. My legs are shooting. The hands are just guides. They're not, and the arms are just guides. They're not the shooting process. The power comes from the legs. So while we're teaching them to shoot these layups from 2 and 3 feet out and stuff, they've got to catch the ball in the triple threat position and come up and shoot the ball. So when you pass it to them, if they drop the ball, can't do that. You're dropping the ball. And sooner, and it doesn't take long, they'll be down when the pass is in the air. So I tell them, as the pass is in the air, you go down. So when it hits your hands, you go right up for the shot. And now it's a controlled quick release. And it's not, I have to really hurry up, but you've taken away that drop, and that drop takes away a step from the defender. And that step is what gives him an ability to contest the shot. So now 70% of contested shots are missed. So if I just catch it down and do this quick release, I've taken my shot from 30% to 70%, because now I'm going to make them, because all I did was squat. So if you teach them all this at the beginning, then it all makes sense. If they're doing it off the dribble, when the last dribble, they know they're going to shoot. The last dribble, they go down with the dribble. And then as they pick it up, they go up for the shot. It's that simple. And they don't have to have any perfect form. They can go up this way. They can go up this way. They can go up this way. It doesn't make any difference. If you get knocked for a layup or taking a jump shot, somebody comes up and smacks you on your way down, if you've got a target, you're 50%, 50-50. And that's all the other guys are not getting knocked around. So the target is, if there's magic in this world, and there is, it's an American for a basketball shooter. And you can put that target, say you're a point guard, you're anybody on the team, and you're passing the ball to a guy who's open for a shot. Well, that guy likes to get the ball in his knees. So put the target in his knees, and that's where the ball's going to go when you pass it. If he likes it at the chest, put a target on his chest. The red, your favorite color on his chest, and that's where the ball's going to go when you release it. It just happens. You can't stop it, because it's the unconscious doing what it wants to do, and you're out of the way. You're consciously out of the way. It's called being in the zone. And if I don't know how many of you have ever gotten there or been in there, but it's a wonderful place to be. You never want to leave. And we just have talked about getting into the zone for shooting. I've got a way to get into the zone while you're playing the game too, because 95% of the time when you're in basketball, you don't have the ball. You're moving without the ball, and you got to know what to do at that time. And if it's natural, and if you know the coach's plays and you are using your peripheral vision to see the court, as you go into your peripheral vision, we just change our question. Am I looking at my target? 2, am I using my peripheral vision? And as soon as you start doing that, you've given the conscious mind a job. And the job is, am I using my peripheral vision? Now you go unconscious. You don't know why you just moved to that spot over there, but you just intercepted a pass on defense. You knew it was going over there. Unconsciously. Consciously, you couldn't figure it out. The game's moving too fast. So it's a way to have a shooting zone and a way to have a zone for the rest of the game. I'll take a breath here for a second.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you,
Are
Coach
we-
Joe.
Are we close to being done? Because I could go on for an hour.
Yes, Coach. And Coach, the question is for Coach right now.
Say that
Yes,
again?
Coach Rain.
Hey, Coach, I have a question.
Yes.
For just want to ask, what form of shooting should be important?
What form of shooting?
Yeah, is there any form of shooting?
Layups. Layups. That's the most important shot in basketball. Because once you can shoot a layup, if you stand flat-footed and you shoot a layup, that's a free throw. If you jump when you shoot a layup, that's a jump shot. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes,
Because the layup, the form that you use for your layup is the form for every other shot. And everybody's going to do their layups different. Some people are going to shoot them from over their head. Some people are going to shoot them from off to the side. Some people are going to shoot them from out in the front. What you're going to find is if you don't make people shoot shots a certain way and allow their unconscious to develop their own natural shot, you'll watch their mechanics change. You not telling them. Their own mind is changing their mechanics. And it works like this. If you're right hand dominant and you start developing your left hand, let's say on a dribble, and you start developing your left hand, as your left hand gets better without ever using your right hand gets better. Because your brain, for the first time, it's figured out, let's see, I'm dribbling left-handed, I'm having trouble. How was I doing that with my right hand? And it figures out how you were doing it with your right hand. It puts it to the left. Now it's thinking unconsciously about what it's been doing. So it says, wait a minute, that's pretty good, but I can do it better. And then you go to your right hand that's been used to doing that, and it gets automatically got better because you developed your left hand. So as they're take more and more shots, and the target is the thing that they have when they shoot, you'll watch their shot change, and you'll see people who take the ball and go into the pocket. That's the first thing somebody taught them, that's what you do. You catch the ball, you put it in the pocket, or whatever they call this spot. Well, that's for beginners, and it's not really for anybody. It's the wrong thing to do. But you'll watch guys or girls that do this, and all of a sudden they quit doing that. They start making their form just exactly what it needs to be for the shot, and their follow through will change. I've got a picture of some guys that I work with. They're all 7 foot tall. I'm 6'2", and I look like I'm 5'4". And we were in a practice, and these guys are shooting, and I told them to keep your eye on the target instead of watching the ball. Well, Bill Johnson watches the ball. Well, you're not Bill Johnson, and we're talking about changing your shot right now. So I want you to keep your eye on the target. Well, their follow through. Let me get a little further. Their follow through was here. So that naturally. So now we got them to keep their eye on the target, And that's all they did to change their shot was keep their eye on their imaginary target. And all of a sudden their follow through is up here and it's further out. And I didn't tell them to change their follow through, and they're not thinking about changing their follow through. Their unconscious knew the follow through would be, that's part of the job. That's part of the shot. That's what was missing. So the unconscious just threw that in there. So the best thing to do is teach them layups and let them get used to finding the target and let them shoot thousands of shots that way, and let them only move out when they can shoot layups from 5 feet, layups from 6 feet, layups from 7 feet. They're all layups. They're all coming off the glass. So the only thing that's different is the distance, and they're just long layups. And if you tell them they're anything else, then they get to thinking. I don't even back them out to the free throw line. I back them out to the elbow, so that when they're at the distance of a free throw, they don't have the mindset that they ever had on a free throw when they get to that distance. They're always back in the corner, so they don't have that. We don't have to worry about that thought, I can't make a free throw, or I'm only shooting this good from, we don't even consider that thought. They're back into the corner, they're back into the elbow, or they're out to the side. We're taking them out to the side to the same distance. So we just eliminate all the, I know what I want to say, but I'm not going to say it. We eliminate all the stuff by simply giving them a target and making sure they shoot short shots. Listen, even with the advanced players, they see their shot improving so fast, they'll stay close for a while. They'll listen to you. It's the 12-year-olds that's to go out and start jacking up 3-point shots. You tell them, I don't want you shooting any further out than 5 feet. And you go by the playground the next day and they're out jacking up threes. You know, what did I tell you? You know, and those are the guys, girls that are the biggest problem. The better they are and the younger they are, the better. So younger and the better. But layups is the way to go. That's the shot.
Okay, coach.
And don't tell them how to shoot their layup. Just show them where the target is. Now,
Yes, coach.
when they're shooting layup, we've got a box on the backboard, and there's a corner. So you tell them originally where to put their target, and their target should be inside the corner. So this is the paint, you know, the rim's here, and this is that block on the glass, and that box that's on the back of the glass. So the inside corner is where they start. That's the first thing. Some players will end up shooting out here. Some will like it over here. Some will like it over here. But you start right there, and then you'll find their natural spot. If the players are skipping it and they're hitting this box down here and it's skipping up to bank in, that's the wrong way. Don't let them do that. Have them hit the box up high. And then when they get to the front and they're dropping in layups in the front, it's the same height. So if they're shooting at this part of the corner, as they go to the middle of the basket, they're not shooting on the corners, they're shooting at the front. It's the same height off that box, but it's down the middle instead of in the corner. And what happens is, to me, that's the easiest shot in basketball. To most players, it's one of the hardest. And the reason is the rim is in the way. All they see is the rim, and it gets. But if they don't look at the rim and they look at their target, the rim disappears. They hit their target and it banks in, and it's amazing. If I was teaching Shaq to shoot free throws, he'd be banking them in because he's so darn strong, you know. And he couldn't finesse them in. All right, your target's right up there on the backboard, man. Hit the backboard, bam, he goes to 90%, just like that.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, coach.
I'll
Coach
go
Mel
off.
Alas, are you here?
Let's keep going. What do we got?
Yeah.
Yes. We have here Coach Mel Alas.
Coach, the problem here in the Philippines, not everybody has what you call this, a ring. So, do you have any suggestion how to practice their shooting without the ring?
The ring.
Yeah.
I'm not understanding what you're asking. I don't know what the ring is. I'm sorry.
Yes. Coach now is like It's like a pandemic now. Then the players are usually in their house. What is the thing that you can ask them for practice without the rim?
Oh, for being at home and no rim to practice. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
yes, coach.
One thing that's definitely going to help their shot is learning how to pound dribble. As a player pounds their dribble, it improves their confidence on their dribbling, one thing. But it also makes them put their hand wide. So you can't pound a dribble with a hand like this. You've got to have a nice wide hand to control the pounding. So they learn how to pound their dribble. That's their shooting hand. The hand needs to be like this for shooting. If it's like this, you shoot left and you shoot right because the ball rolls off. If you got a nice wide hand, the ball doesn't roll off and you've eliminated all your left-right misses. So they can, as they pound the ball, they get a better shooting hand and they develop that by pounding it. And now that they're used to pounding it, it'll just happen on their shot. So that's one thing they can do. The other thing is they can get out against a wall and they can put a mark on the wall that's 10 feet. Then they can imagine their target above that 10-foot mark where the box would be on the backboard and start hitting that target with the basketball. It'll bank in. That's their bank shot with no rim. Did I make sense on that one? You get a wall, make a 10-foot mark, then put your imaginary target at the same place you would have it if there was a box on the backboard above that 10-foot mark, and then hit that target. Now, they're not going to line drive at it because nobody shoots like that. They're going to shoot and have it drop, hit the target, and it'll bank in if there was a basket there. So that's an easy way for them to play without a rim. If they don't have a wall, is that a problem? Finding a place to have a 10-foot wall?
Oh.
Carmelo, is that a problem?
Cosmos, and if there's that high coach, it's okay if they sit down.
No.
They sit down in a chair.
No,
Nope.
that's not a shot.
Yes,
That's a
coach.
pass. So if they do anything else, is a pass. Now, if they want to practice their passing, now think about this for a second. What's a dribble? It's a pass to yourself. What's a shot? It's a pass to the basket. So everything in basketball is a pass. There's really, everything is a pass. So now if they want to develop and they don't have a 10-foot wall to practice their shooting, they can go against a wall with 2 basketballs, for example, and pass 2 basketballs off the wall. And they can make them come back as a line drive. They can bounce them in, have them come back bouncing, have them come back one at a time or both at the same time, do between the legs, do behind the back, and just work themselves to death on the wall and get faster and faster and faster. That gives them good eye hand and juggle. They can get out and juggle. If they don't know how to juggle, they're shortchanging their game and they're shortchanging your game as a coach. If everybody on your team could shoot, would it change the way you coach? Because aren't you coaching around people's inabilities? Don't you have to put a play in because somebody can't do something? You always have to work around what players cannot do. If they can all shoot and they can all pass, it's going to change the way you coach. I can guarantee it. Because you don't have to work around things. They're there. They can do these things. So you run in plays and it's interchangeable. If everybody can dribble, and that's what we've got now in this pandemic, this is a perfect way to learn to juggle and dribble. If everybody can dribble, then your center can bring the ball down, even if he's 6'10". And if your center's bringing the ball down and he's 6'10", and the other team is playing man to man, their center cannot guard your guy because he doesn't know how to guard a dribbler because he's never been taught to guard a dribbler. So now you got a center coming down, creating a play. And everybody, and the paint's open because the center's not down there. So you got drives that are wide open. Coach Carmelo, did I answer your question?
Yeah, coach. Well, one more thing, coach.
Yeah.
One more problem is most of the players nowadays, because of the pandemic, they stay at home. They don't have a ball. So what I tell them is just close your eyes, imagine that there's a goal, and keep on shooting. Is that okay?
As long as they're not shooting. If they're
What,
gonna
coach?
if they're gonna close their eyes and imagine, then they should not mechanically be shooting the ball. It should all be imagination.
Yes.
Do you understand what I mean?
Because yeah.
Because if they start shooting, if they close their eyes to imagine, that's not the same thing that's not a game drill. You don't have your eyes closed in a game. So if you try to interchange mechanics with imagination and the eyes are closed, it's not to me, if the drill isn't something that's you can use in a game, it's a useless drill. You should be drilling for stuff that they're going to actually use it come game time. So, and I'll give you a good example. The weave. They do the 3-man, 5-man weave. You're never going to do that in a game. Why waste your time drilling it? Drill something that you're going to use in a game. That's run fast breaks. Do something that's important that you're going to be doing in a game. Don't waste time on this 3-man weave. It's never going to happen in a game. So what I'm saying is, when they're imagining with their eyes closed, they should not be doing any movement with their body. And that's a wonderful thing to do. And as a matter of fact, I recommend it for going to sleep for the basketball players. They should close their eyes at night, imagine the plays that the coach has given to them, imagine themselves shooting, imagine themselves passing and catching passes, and all of these things that they can imagine. If the imagination does it, it's the same thing as doing it physically. It's exactly the same thing. They've proven it time and time again. They've run tests of people that practice only in their imagination and people that practice just on free throws, for example, doing a free throw. And in 2 weeks, they come back and they do them again after they've been doing their practicing, and the improvement is almost identical. And the one set of people didn't even shoot the basketball. They just imagined. So the imagination is a really strong thing to develop. And yes, but don't have them imagine shooting and shoot the ball too. That's not a good thing, in my opinion. And that's all I can go with, that's all I can go with.
Coach, my point there is I want them to concentrate on their shot. That's my point.
But if they're concentrating on their shot, they're thinking about their shot. If they're thinking about their shot, it's the wrong way to shoot, because your conscious mind is getting in the way of a natural movement. If they have their target, you weren't here earlier for Coach Carmelo, we're having them imagine a target. And if they can imagine their target, then that's their shot. You don't want them thinking when they're shooting. You don't want them to think when they're shooting. That's the last thing you want doing. If they're thinking, they're taking themselves out of they're causing at least half their shots to miss just because they're thinking. And Coach Carmelo, you should watch the beginning on a replay to know about this. And it's in the book. I wrote the book to be me when I can't be there. So I'd say at the end of the book, keep rereading this book. Reread it and reread it, because every time you reread it, you'll have a different perspective from the last time you read this, and you'll see the same words will mean something completely different, because you've actually had it in practice now, and you are allowing your mind to catch up and do things that, oh, I see. Have you ever, I used to wonder, when coaches would say, I have forgotten more than he'll ever know about such and such. And I never understood what that meant until it happened. And so I see these coaches teaching stuff that I used to teach when I was a young coach, and I know now that's just useless crap. That's just useless stuff. You don't need to that's the wrong thing to do. I know now that I shouldn't be doing that. So I've forgotten how to do that because I don't do it anymore. I forgot. It's just something we put behind us now. So that's what they mean by I've forgotten more than you'll ever know. So that's what I'm talking about. So please get the book. It's $3.49. I'm not trying to get rich off this book. I want everybody to read it.
Yeah. You can promote it again, Coach, the book.
I'm sorry. Who said that? What?
Your book, Coach. You can promote it now, Coach. So they will be reminded again.
All right. The book's called Basketball. It's all about the shot. The book is all about life. Basketball, to me, sports are life. It's a perfect training for life. If you want to be a good rebounder, you've got to work your fanny off. You've got to work. In life, you've got to work. And you get results after you work. And sports teach you how to do that. And so you can transfer everything you learn in sports to life. And that's how I wrote the book. I'll give you an example about how that works with the mind. If you take and put an imaginary line out on the floor in front of you, and you go out and stand on that line that's imaginary, and you look off to your own left and turn your body to the left at the end of that line, and that's the beginning of your life. And then you turn back and you turn to the right, and that's your future. And you can put the line as far out as you want to. So now you come back and you stand where you were standing, and you put your mind there. This is now. This is who you are now. And everything off to your left, to you guys, it's your left. Everything off to your left is the past. And that's what you have learned. Now, you have learned that, and you are here. Out there is what you need to know. So physically, get up, walk 5-10 steps, turn around and look back and see what you need to learn to get to that part of your future. It's on the line, and your imagination sees it, and it'll tell you. And then you walk it back, and you stand on the line again, and you know exactly what you need to do to get from where you are now to there. I'm sorry, to there.
Thank you.
So that's how I'm teaching life in the book. I'm teaching basketball, but I'm teaching life at the same time. And I teach, my favorite thing is I teach players how to enter the zone at will. One day it's going to play out that I'm going to be on a professional team for long enough to where I've got everybody in the zone at the same time on the court. Are we still going?
Yes,
Okay.
Coach.
And
We
I'm going
got
to
a
be able
picture
to
of
see,
your book on Amazon.
yes. I'm going to be able to see a team, 5 players in the zone simultaneously that can shoot. And they're going to be shooting, it's 200-point games. And it's going to be game after game after game, because that's what being in the zone does. It allows these things to happen. We get out of our own way. Everybody's working the way they should be, and nobody's thinking, and it works. Oh, there, I see. There's my book. So
Cool.
now we promoted the book.
Yes,
But
Coach.
we can go another 4 hours if you want.
And
Woohoo! No.
you can have this. This is the title of the book of Coach Dave Jones, Basketball. It's all about shots. Coach, we have a message here from Coach Calvin. She said, very useful topic, but often forgotten because it is not really tangible, and most coaches focus on the physical aspect of playing sports, especially the Philippines, and disregard mentality of the sports.
I'm not sure what I just heard.
Yes,
I apologize.
Coach Calvin is the junior NBA representative here in the Philippines. So he,
Okay.
yeah, so he
He posted a message for us, Coach.
it's a forgotten thing is the visualization part, using the
Oh.
imagination. Yeah,
Gotcha.
amen.
Works for referees great too. Now I'll tell
Oh,
you
yeah.
something else that happens when you're in the zone. You don't get tired because your body is, when you're in the zone, your body is working at peak performance, and all of the organs are working the way they're supposed to, because the imagination has taken over. The conductor is doing its job and it's having a ball. So you don't even get tired.
Actually,
Yeah.
I just
Now,
got some. Okay, go ahead.
go ahead. I'm sorry, Coach. Eric,
I
go
know,
Pastor
ahead.
Rico.
yeah, Coach Dave. I just had one question that what can you say about the player when they hitting the target and they saying they made a shot and they said miss, miss, miss by their own shot. So they're saying it's a miss, it's a miss. Then all of a sudden they made it. So what's actually coming in through their mind? What maybe part of the Coach David saying, like, when you're not really confident about what you're doing,
So
you
you're
try to.
saying
Yeah, I'm sorry, sir.
you're saying their internal thoughts are,
Yes.
I'm going to miss while they're shooting. That's their internal thought.
No, they already released the shot. Sometimes, I mean, the kids, right, when they're trying to be, informative about their players or their teammates, that like, oh, I'm trying to pull up a jumper, then I release the ball, then all of a sudden, miss, miss. They're already calling their shots that it was miss. So everybody has to, pay attention and try to get the rebound. But all of a
Okay.
sudden, you see they made it.
Yeah.
So then you will look at the play, your teammate. What was that? What was that? I mean, but all of a sudden, is it the confusion about on their mind if they got the target, tried to hit it, but they're not confident enough that they made it right?
I'm still going to try and see if I understand the question before I give you an answer. Okay.
Because we're in the process of psychologically thinking about this is your target, you're trying to hit it. So, of course, if you're imagining that that's your target and you're trying to do all the mechanics of your shot to make the shot, the only time that you can make a perfect stroke, and if your mind is on the right set of mind, that you're hitting the target that you're trying to hit. So, of course, when you try to shoot, everybody has their own target when they're shooting. They're looking at the rim. It's just for this specific topic that we're trying to say that you have to have your target for you to have, to get a high percentage of your shot. Because if you don't have a target, why are you shooting? So what I'm just trying to point out, since we already know that we have a target, we just have to keep on perfecting hitting those targets. So
You
got
don't
to
have to, if you don't have to perfect hitting it. You have to perfect seeing it.
yeah, seeing it.
You have
Yeah,
to,
first of all,
well,
yeah.
first
Okay.
you have to imagine it. That's
Imagine.
that's what we have to perfect. If we can imagine it, our eyes will go to it.
Mm-hmm.
That will happen. It's impossible for that not to
Yeah,
happen.
but
So
okay,
if they
coach.
imagine it, I'll shut up. Go ahead.
No, so I'm sorry. No, I was saying is because I just don't want to get off to the topic, because if we already learn that, yeah, you're imagining it and then you keep on, exercising, by keep on putting it on the part of the mechanics, and then your mind hitting your free throw, imagining or whatever, blue or
Yeah.
red, and then you're putting it in a point which this is where you want it to be, and then now you're trying to hit it, and then you're making your shots. So normally when because when we teach the kids to shoot, we're trying to um, make them the proper balance and everything, form and then release, and then after that your eyes is part of the target that we're trying to explain. So of course when you're putting your arm from the 90 degrees, okay, that follow through has to have a target with your eyes coordinated with where you want the ball to go. So now if because we're trying to I was just trying to get in the head of because sometimes when you try to make the shot and you made it, but sometimes you will say for my I know I hit my target, but how come I missed it? But
If
some,
you hit
now
the target,
reverse
you
side,
can't miss it.
I know that's what I'm saying, but that's why I was saying is like why sometimes some of my players and some of the others too, they're trying to make the shot. The shot was being made, but they're saying before the release of the ball, after the release of the ball, that they're not making it. So is
While
that
the ball is in the air, you mean?
yeah, the ball is in. Yeah, they already released. They already hit the whatever target that they wanted to do, the target that they want to hit. But for some reason, once they released it, on the other hand of their set of mind, the thought I missed. So I was just asking, what do you think about that kind of thought process of the
Okay.
player? Is it
All
the
right.
confidence issues? Because he made the shot. So what is
Yeah.
it? A lucky shot?
Uh, no, it's not a lucky shot because he had a target. So
Okay.
what before I get to that part of it, I want to get to the first part of how you were describing it.
Mhm.
And you were talking about the mechanics of the free throw and where the elbow goes and how they balance the ball and the balance. The only thing that you want to work with them with on a free throw, once they can shoot free throws without having to change their shot, they're strong enough. And they've learned how to 70% and backed out to the free throw distance, if you understand what I mean. Now, the only thing you want them to do is have balance with their feet. And you teach them however you want. I'm not going to teach you how to teach them. But balance with the feet is the only thing that you've got to now teach them. Let the rest of the mechanics happen. They don't try to hit the target. They don't aim for the target. They see the target and let the ball go. You guys are all Christians, and you've all heard the saying, let go and let God. And you all know what that means. Am I correct? There's a yes from everybody.
Yes, coach.
Absolutely. Faith.
All
Yes,
right.
coach.
So what we're doing in this basketball with this target training is let go and let your imagination, let your inner child shoot. Let go and trust in your unconscious. And all you got to do is look at the target. Your unconscious knows you're going to shoot. You're looking at the target. You're in a basketball game. You don't aim. If you're aiming, you're conscious. If you're conscious, you're getting in the way of the unconscious that knows what to do. You're tripping yourself up. And I know what you're thinking. You can't do that. How do I do that? You got to let go and let God. And that's what's going to happen. That's really what's going to happen. I can guarantee it. I'm shaking my head no. I can guarantee it. That's how it works. I've taught thousands of players, and I've been one-on-one with hundreds of players and watched this work. And the hardest thing to do is let go, because all your life you've wanted control. Now you're letting go of conscious control. And that's the hard part. And that's where I missed. That's where that comes from. It's the conscious slipping in after the shot. And what that means is he's taken the player, the shooter, has taken his or her eye off the ball, off the target, excuse me. They've taken their eye off the target. And if they've taken their eye off the target, now their conscious mind can make a decision on something. So it's not a confidence thing, it's a conscious, unconscious thing.
So, Coach, do you think, when Larry Bird tried to hit the 360 3-point shot, he still has the target?
No, Larry Bird didn't know how to do this.
But he was making the shot.
If Larry Bird knew how to do this, Larry Bird would have shot 90% plus from the line, and he'd have shot over 60% from three. And so would almost anybody else in the NBA, because they're strong enough. You know, it's hard to jack up a three. That's a long shot. I had a point guard, an ABA point guard I worked with, a 5'8", maybe 5'8", and I had him banking in everything, like I've been telling you guys. We got him banking in his threes. He quit shooting threes unless he was banking them in. And in the games, he was shooting 65%, banking in his threes. So because he's got a target, and he told me, he's the first one to tell me this, when I'm coming across the half court line, my target hits me right in the face. And there it is. And it's in my peripheral vision the whole time I'm on the offensive side of the court. It's unbelievable. He says it's unbelievable. It's always there. So he was jacking them up from threes again, and to hit the glass takes more strength. So it was all legs. He was putting legs into his shot and just letting his unconscious guide the ball. Guys, it's unbelievable, but you need to work on it yourself. You guys need to learn to juggle so that when you tell your players that they got to learn to juggle, they say, well, you can't juggle, coach. Oh, yes, I can.
2 left hands, coach.
So you've got to learn how to imagine the target, and you teach them how to imagine it with the directions. I told you about how to use directions to teach them to imagine it. If they can't imagine it, that works unbelievable well. But most everybody can, and don't ask them. Don't think it's hard for them. It's not hard for them to imagine. It's natural. It's natural for them to imagine it. And because we're teaching it, we think, well, we got to drive it home. No, just let it happen. Just like you got to let the shot happen. And I tell players, don't lie to me. Tell me the truth. I can't help you if you tell me what you think I want to hear. Tell me the truth so that I can guide you. And because I can guide you, but I can't unless I know the truth. So if you can't imagine it, if you can't make it brighter, if you're having difficulty with any of it, tell me. Let's work through it. It's no big deal. Some people come across it different than others, but everybody gets it.
Thank you, Coach.
Sure.
Thank you so much, Coach Dave. Coach Enrico, is you're okay?
Oh yeah. I'm good.
Coach David.
Did I answer your question, Coach Eric?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Coach. It's just like particularly it's something that I'm getting it. Yeah, for that particular part. It's just like I was just trying to go hit the brain. Go ahead, Coach David.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, Coach Dave, I'm enjoying this thoroughly. You know, being part of the special operations teams and for the United States military, whether you're in the Army or Air Force, doesn't matter. But this training for us is exactly what we learned. Of course, the terminology was visualization rather than imagination, but it's the same exact thing. And of course, we know when you're developing your muscle memory, you're also got to develop your visualization. You got to be able to see so that, you know, you have a target. And that's whether you're shooting, whether you're jumping out of an aircraft, or even if you're going up there to speak in front of your team. You know, everything has that. You got to be able to visualize yourself, because some people are afraid to even talk in front of people.
Oh, that's a bigger fear than dying for a lot of people.
That's right. So I really appreciate what you shared today, and definitely going to get your book as soon as I can get some money into my stateside bank account. But
no, Coach David,
but
I don't use the word visualization on purpose.
Yeah.
If I use the word visualization, people seem to think that they've got to see it. And so it's harder for them to let their imagination take over if they're trying to see something that's not there. If they see it, they're crazy.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
you understand why, as a chaplain pastor, when we talk about imagination, we also know there's vain imagining. So there are other areas that we have to deal with. So visualization, if you define it properly, helps to differentiate between having faith, not in what you see, but what you don't see, right? That's faith, you know, so that's why we're right on. I agree with you 100%. And this is something that's missing. It's something that's neglected, and we can use, we can use this to improve on our game, because for so long it's just, the other day we had a a shooting coach talking about making those corrections, right? You know, the subtle corrections. Well, if we know that our body is fully capable of via our brain to adjust, then we're not going to be worried so much about that, because we're going to be in a panic if we start the game off and we've gone 0 for 15. we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to go out there and be ourselves and let our mind and our body adjust as we get warmed up, because usually that's the case. You know, Steph Curry, using him as an example because you did, you know, he shoots 200 to 300 shots from very close in before a game, and people don't see that. They just see him, you know, shooting threes from half court, but they don't see him doing those subtle things to activate that part of his brain and his body at the same time. So we need to go through the normal things like you're talking about, that process. And it's the practice and before the game warm up that we don't see, because in the game, it's all showmanship, right? It's you know, all that sky hooks and all that kind of stuff, but it's what you do in practice that makes the difference. So thank you, Coach, for coming in today. Really appreciate it.
Oh, sure, Coach Dave. And you know, for when it comes to a game warm up, I have everybody start with layups. Everybody shoots layups. You shoot 50 layups, because that's your shot. And if you can't make 50 layups before the game starts, you shouldn't be shooting anything else, man.
Yeah, that's right. I like that one warm up where you have 2 lines under the basket and you run out there and you're shooting close in and they're just passing off. So it's layups, but it's you know, from a 2 to 3 foot out, and it's quick because you're developing the pass and the shot at the same time, and you're interacting as a team. So it's all, you know, it's releasing the brain from having to think and just do.
And see, you mentioned team. Once you've worked your whole team, they will remind each other about the target. You got your target? You got your target?
Yeah.
You got your target?
And the story that you shared about the Special Olympics, that's dear to my heart. I really appreciate that, because there you truly applied it, because you're not, most of them are in a wheelchair and they're having to do that without the use of the normal process, which you're using your legs to shoot. They're having to do that from their waist up. So that's, you know, so it is mostly brain.
Now, you talked about muscle memory. Muscle memory is in fact not real, because it's the brain telling the muscles what to do. So it's brain memory. It's not muscle memory.
Yeah,
the brain is triggering the muscles. So it's got to go through the
going from the main noggin all the way through those nerve synapses all the way. Yeah.
That we're developing when we're learning how to juggle.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned Steph Curry. That's what he does. If you watch his master training video, that's exactly what he does. Everything is about juggling the ball and getting his brain to function. So, you know, everything's slow motion for him because he trains, like you said. He's juggling the ball, a tennis ball, a basketball, and, you know, catch and dribble and whatever. It's all so that he doesn't have to think about it. He just does.
Well, my book's
Awesome,
been online since 2003. Wonder if Steph's taking a look.
I'm sure he has, because, you know, because that's exactly what he does. And almost everything you were sharing, you can see in what he does. Yeah, it's just, that's awesome. And no, I don't think there's going to be a better shooter than Steph Curry of all time. I mean, right now, you know, we haven't got to see him much this year, but next year we're going to see it in all its glory.
We're going to see players get better than Steph.
Yeah. Well, we might, but I hope so. But you know, there's something about character too there.
Thank you so much, Coach David. Any other question, coaches?
So,
We're good, Coach.
Thank you so
Can I
much,
look
Coach.
at my notes? Do we have to cut off at a certain time?
Yeah.
Good, Coach.
We do?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I got some notes here. I want to make sure I went through them all.
Well, you know, you can come back another time, Coach, if that's okay.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
If it's
that'd be
okay
great.
with you guys.
Yes, Coach.
I
We
love
appreciate it.
Just put a bookmark in your notes, and we'll pick up where we left off.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
thank
Coach.
you very much. Appreciate
Coach
it.
Enrico.
Yeah.
thank you.
Just want to say thank you, Coach Dave. Appreciate that. That's kind of.
Thanks for allowing me to be with you guys. It's an honor.
Thank you
And
so
next
much,
time
Coach.
we'll get Coach Calvin on here too, because he's got a lot of comments that
Yeah.
he can work with us. He's been posting a lot here, so there'll be a good interaction between you two, I think. So this is awesome.
So in other words, there's going to be, can I answer questions online? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm just saying. Well, you could answer Coach Calvin, but I've been receiving him in my inbox on Messenger, so I've been reading along here, and I see how you're both communicating, and from what perspective he's gone even up to the college level and above here, and I've got theta and alpha line brain waves, and wow, this is really, yeah, this is awesome. So if we can develop this further between you two, and the next time we're on, wow, this is great.
I'll give you a little background I didn't give you before. This all originated as NLP. Are you familiar with NLP or what it stands for? Ever
No.
heard of it? NLP stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And have you ever seen or heard of Tony Robbins?
Yes.
Tony Robbins, that's how he teaches. He uses neuro-linguistic programming exclusively. And he and I
that's how I broke my 2 plywood boards at one of his seminars.
Well, he and I trained under the same people. So it's the NLP that all of this comes from, and the originator for all of this. And I actually started it in music. I was working as a recording engineer, working in the studio, and the bands would come in, and this is their first time in the studio for most of them, unless it's a big name band. And they were nervous and scared, and they weren't performing to their best abilities because they were nervous and scared. So as the engineer in the studio, it was my job to calm them down and make them feel comfortable. And so I took this NLP to help me learn how to do that, and it translates perfect to sports.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you so much, Coach, for your time.
Thanks, guys. Sorry to keep
And
you.
before we end, Coach. And before we end, Coach, I would like to thank again our sponsor, NABA, North American Basketball Association, Familia Washington, D.C., ECQ Apparel, and also B-Mart, Filipino Grocery, Team Rich Than Reachable, and Team Spartan Basketball, Coach David Bessie and Coach Enrico Quintana. Thank you so much. And before we end, Coach, may I ask Coach David to have a closing prayer?
Absolutely. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for the time we got to spend with Coach Dave Jones and learn this aspect, something that we really haven't talked about here in the Philippines, but I believe it's critical. So, Lord, I ask you to continue to develop this relationship between us and Coach Dave, and that we can grow in this area and develop this. And we just ask you for his protection there in the U.S., Lord, during this time of COVID, Lord, and just give him traveling mercies as he travels around and as he continues to serve you. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach
Thanks,
Dave,
everybody.
Coach
Take care,
David,
Coach Dave.
Coach Enrico,
We will have a second
Coach
session.
Duffy,
Yeah, we will.
Coach Carmelo. Thank you.
More of those.
Soon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Been a pleasure. I can't wait till the next time.
Awesome.
Feed to Coach.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you. Hey, if it doesn't want to stop, I can keep talking.
Yeah, stopping the live. Coach.
They're trying to push the button.
Coach Enrico.
Guys, God bless. Have a great
Yeah.
day.
God bless you all.